This is your chance to get behind the wheel. The opportunity to race just like the pros. From the grassroots levels, where we all got our start, to the most popular race cars on the planet. From the fairgrounds of Nashville to the high banks of Daytona, to tracks that will never be forgotten. Realistic driving, intense competition, all from the comfort of your own home. This is the ultimate motorsports simulation. This is iRacing.
World of Outlaws Dirt Racing is available now. Download your copy today.
This is iRacing, the world's premier online racing game. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat to experience today's newest form of competitive motorsport, virtual racing, all from your home PC. Race virtually in endorsed series from NASCAR, IndyCar, IMSA, the World of Outlaws, Aussie Supercars and more. Take on legendary circuits like Daytona, Silverstone and the Nürburgring. Join iRacing's global online racing community and get on track today at iRacing.com.
This is fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got tracks and he's going in the outside of both of them. Maloney!
Oh, he's taking Anderson. Anderson's up to him.
Oh my God! Big crash! Oh my goodness, half the field's going to get rolled.
Second very close. These guys are want to make their way through the field very quickly. Oh, there we go. Oh no! That's massive. This is it. This is over. I can't believe this. Oh my God!
God, what?
There is an awesome series of awesome racing ahead of us. Welcome to the Formula Vee Australia E-Series, one of the most affordable, most competitive forms of motorsport to be found anywhere in the world. So popular across Australia and globally. Here we have the Australian Vee E-Series to bring together all of our competitors from across this nation onto the iRacing platform, racing against each other for a 6-round championship that will be just top notch. And we're using all of the Australian tracks available to us as well, and that's why we start here, round 1 at Phillip Island Circuit. We are delighted to have your company here on SimSpeed TV, where we will be bringing you live coverage of every minute, every round, every race. And they prove to be super competitive because this style of motorsport always is. David Haynes joined by Scott Rankin. Jay Kennedy producing for us here on SimSpeed TV. Means we are going to have all of the angles, all of the replays you could ever want. And what a championship it is going to be. So let's talk about the championship and let's talk about the racing tonight. Here's what it's going to look like tonight from Phillip Island. A 10-minute, just 2-lap qualifying session sets the grid for race 1. Think of it like heat 1, I suppose. And then we invert the top 20 from that for another 15-minute heat 2. And the finishing order of that is our grid for the 20-minute race 3. So it will be super sharp, short, action-packed racing where you are going to want to keep all 4 wheels on the ground for every moment, because a small setback in any of these races will prove very costly with the very competitive and very large grid of Formula V's that we have got. Scott, are you looking forward to this?
Oh, Dave, look, I mean, the thing about Formula V racing is that you're never getting away from people. And if there's one thing I know, it's close, action-packed draft battles. IndyCar's normally my formula, but Formula V, yeah, I'll settle for a little bit of that, why don't you? To the fans that are watching along at home, you're going to get comfortable with this car over the next couple of weeks. Why is that? Well, maybe if you're thinking about going real-life racing, you could get a go-kart, but you could get one of these. You're probably going to race on some bigger circuits. You're probably going to come to the circuits that we're at. See that? That, I believe, is your pit lane entrance, the spectator views out the back at the Phillip Island circuit. I've been there. It's fantastic. This track is spectacular. You think it's fantastic on the sim. It's even better when you go there in real life. We're going to head all the way down to the south of Australia, just off the southern coast. It's down there in Victoria, Phillip Island. You can go and see the penguins. It's such a view. It's so awesome. Yeah, look at that map. That's about where it's located, all the way off the south coast. Down near Melbourne. It's quite a nice drive actually on the way down to Phillip Island. Really, really scenic. So if you're going somewhere and on vacation and you don't want your significant other to know it's a racing getaway, that's right. Phillip Island's probably the one for you. Go see penguins. There's so much to do on the island. It's actually a really, really nice venue for racing. This is the track layout. 4.45 kilometers, 12 turns, any clockwise direction. We all just about know them. I'm a big motorcycle guy, Dave. So if you don't know me so far, I grew up racing motorcycles. This is where I wanted to race growing up. Gardner Straight. It's where all of the overtaking is going to happen. Woo, dips, ducks, dodges, dives, and weaves. Down a Doohan corner. Who's got the bravery? Who's going to carry the pace down there? Whose tyres are more up to temperature? The Southern Loop. Can you get the flow going? Can you settle the car nicely? It's about stabilizing the rear end, making sure you're not going in too hot. Then the run down to Stoner corner. Aptly named for Casey Stoner. What a motorcycle rider. Man, he likes his car racing as well. I have a feeling he's probably driven a Formula V at some point. Miller corner, that switchback. Who's going to be late under brakes? Who's going to run wide? And then Siberia, one of the coldest places in Australian motorsport. Completely and utterly different to the top end of town at Hidden Valley. That's one of the hottest places in Australian motorsport. Siberia, aptly named because that's what the conditions are like. Down over at that corner, you get all that cold breeze coming off of the South Pole. Up through the Hayshed, flat out, drafting action, up to Lukey Heights. Who can be brave? 2 sections of the course you've got to be really, really brave at. It's Lukey Heights in the Southern Loop. Down over into MG, turn number 11, turn number 12, back onto the start finish straight. Dave, you've driven some real-life cars. Have you actually had the chance to drive around this circuit? Because I'm a jealous man if you have.
I have been on Phillip Island, but I have never been to this circuit, in fact, which is a damning indictment on my parents' holiday planning to take us to see penguins and not the racetrack. But we know that the Formula V's always race super, super close. They can be really slipstream dependent. That's a slip of the tongue right there. Wherever we take them, but here, I mean, again, really, really quick speeds down the pit straight there, super quick through turn number 1. And I think these cars can race and pass just about anywhere around this circuit. And we look at the rest of the schedule, the rest of the calendar. Well, 2 weeks' time, we go to round 2 at Winton, a circuit that's been around a long time in the real world, but only very, very recently on iRacing. So it looks really sharp, really great. The wildcard yet to be announced. Could there be some surprises? You'll probably know by the time we get to round 2. That would be a little too wild as far as the wild card goes. But then, of course, the rest of our great Australian tracks that are available here on iRacing, Oran Park, Sandown, including all of this in March next year at Bathurst. Go ahead and pencil all of that into your calendar. We'll be broadcasting every single round live. State of play right now is practice. So we are 5 minutes away from everyone getting into their qualifying, which of course we all know sets the grid. We are seeing a field of, what is it right now, 45 or more Vs. We know it's a 15-minute race, then a 20-minute race. don't really want to be the one to start 35th in a 45-car Formula V field, rolling down in towards turn 1 and turn 2 on cold tyres, like you say, on the first lap. I would think qualifying could be quite important.
Well, look, if you're going to be able to make overtakes in a Formula V, Phillip Island's actually a really good circuit. When we were going through that track list, I was actually penciling out, normally for most styles of cars, like bigger cars, like GT3s, V8 supercars, it's incredibly difficult to get an overtake done at Winton Park. Guess what? These aren't that. These are tiny. These are little midget style cars. Don't have a lot of grunt. Unfortunately, I've got a little bit too much weight carried on board. That spare tyre I added through the middle of the year, going into Christmas, probably not going to make me so fast at Formula V. These guys, though, they're a lot lighter. They're trained for this sort of stuff. Things that I'm noticing going through practice, though, and one of the critical things is overlap where the wheels are, because the critical corners of the car, basically the nose cone, it just protrudes a little bit. It's not too bad. It's not too much of a long nose cone. You can sort of see it. And those wheels. So the guys that are really familiar with open wheel style racing are going to know how to position these cars. I talked about IndyCar earlier. IndyCar trains your reaction sort of styles for these things with a lot more speed. This is a lot more slow, a lot more gradual, but it's about positioning the car in the right spot at the right time. Formula V is some of the closest racing you can get in real life. And that is what makes it the best car for us to go racing with this set of drivers.
Drivers are trying to get ready, warm up, find the track conditions and how hard they can push before qualifying. They will only get 2 flying laps in qualifying, and there are a handful of places around here we've seen already you could throw away your qualifying laps, so it's always a matter of pushing hard on maybe your last flying lap, but you need to make sure you get at least a time on the board when it comes to qualifying. It's not paved runoff around here. Tyres out on the grass, and that's your lap done.
Yeah, so there's a couple things that's critical in terms of the approach to qualifying. Like you said, I'm a little bit sitting on the fence. Do I want to start at the back for this first race and maybe just read the field, read a whole bunch of drivers? Being last into turn number 1, yeah, you're a long way back, you've got a lot to make up, and we just talked about how close the racing is. Could actually be, you could see a couple drivers intentionally want to start down the back, maybe just dip their toes in the water, sort of get comfortable with things that way. It's going to teach them how to overtake and how to be strong through the series. For drivers that are out and out competing for the championship, qualifying is going to be key. How are they going to set that up? First and foremost, they need to get a great qualifying lap. How do you get a great qualifying lap? Formula V's all about holding on to momentum. Tire scrubbing? Big no-no. That's going to cost you momentum. That is going to cost you speed. So any noise that's coming out of that tire, very, very bad. Don't want to hear any of that. Number 2, build your momentum up to start the lap. The fastest line through MG corner at the second in the second half of the lap to start your qualifying lap is the line that generates the most drive off the corner. Why? Your warm-up lap doesn't matter. Doesn't go up on the board.
Interesting. There will be certainly some aspects of that racecraft and all of that on show, but also a little bit of gamesmanship potentially. You can see some teammates here. You can see that there's sort of 3 or 4 Chuka Toyota Formula Vs getting around out there, and John Merritt 3rd, his teammate Glenn Riddle 4th in the practice times at the moment, and a slipstream dependent or aggressive in the draft these cars can be. Certainly try to work together with anyone who'll have you.
Yeah, so you may see a couple strategies that get employed throughout the race. Keep your eyes out for them because they're going to flash by at a moment's notice. Remember, we've got, what did you say, 45 cars out there tonight? There's going to be cars going left, right, and center. It's going to be really, really hard to watch for things. So this is your tech tips now to enjoy the race a little bit more. Look for people who are doing swap drafting. What I mean by swap drafting is, hey, maybe they're leading a pack. They don't want the guys behind them. What they'll do is they'll follow a car, use that car to gain the slipstream, gain all of that momentum, and they'll take that momentum and pass them before entering one of the higher speed corners, potentially turn 1, potentially coming off of the last corner. They'll push that momentum out in front, and the car will slip straight back behind. And that will actually make both cars travel faster because one car generates the momentum, takes that momentum somewhere, another car builds some more momentum off them, takes that momentum somewhere. That's swap drafting, very common tactic in terms of IndyCar. I'm going to talk a little bit about that. Like I said, that's sort of my speciality, so that's what I do know. Yeah, driving these things and getting the most out of them, there's going to be thousandths of a second in this qualifying. And when I say thousandths of a second, I'm expecting qualifying to be within the thousandths of a second. I don't expect a hundredth of a second in qualifying. And if there's one thing that makes racing impressive, it's side-by-side duels. Formula V's create side-by-side duels like you have never, ever seen before. If you are new to this stuff, keep your eyes peeled because you're going to want to buy one of these after you're done. When I saw this coming up, I was like, man, I got to get myself into one of these at some point.
I've got myself into one of these, which was Sean Mackenzie's car when he was doing racing in Queensland. Sat in it. It's snug, it's comfy. It really did light that flame underneath me. I want to get myself into one of these, and we have a lot of very well experienced Formula V drivers and racers from basically every state on our grid here. So wherever you're from around Australia or New Zealand, you might see a name that you recognize up on the board. Qualifying starts now. This is that outlap you talked about, preparing the tires, but also then thinking about that line and that jump off of MG that starts your momentum for your first of the flying laps. There's Josh Burden. Here's Alex McDonald. Keeping my eye on the sector times, of course, when we get into this, when the drivers start attacking their laps. I always think of 90 seconds as sort of the benchmark time around Phillip Island. It's kind of what Porsche Cup cars do, V8 supercars seem to do, GT3 cars seem to do. So obviously we'll be a little over that based on the significant horsepower differential between those cars and a Formula V. They do handle pretty well, super lightweight, keeping that throttle pinned through places like the hay sheds through turn number 1. It does mean that in this 10 minutes, everyone will be able to get around on their outlap and take 2 flying laps before the checkered flag drops on all of them. So shouldn't be too much of a hurry for everyone getting around on this outlap. Even with, 2-minute outlap, 2-minute flying laps, you've still got plenty of buffer to make sure you get around for those 2 laps in this session. We're right on board with one of the first cars that's going to start their first flying lap. Here is John Merritt, and you see what he can see. He's in 4th gear, he's in full power, and he's almost starting to hit a bit of an aerodynamic wall there. He's trying to minimize scrub, minimize the angle, take the shortest route around, also keeps the speed up. So, John Merritt, where is the 164 on my timing screen? Uses just a little bit of 3rd through Southern Loop there as well. Not able to keep it in 4th the whole way around, but also very quickly back into 4th gear as he then heads downhill. First big braking zone of the lap here, and your first big decision about how late you want to brake on your first of 2 flying laps, knowing that you probably want to bank 1 and then go maximum attack.
Yeah, do you push the tire hard early? Do you really go for that momentum? Where do you change gears? See that big old puff of smoke? That's a gear change. That's what that means coming out of these guys. So it's a really, really good marker of when you're changing gears. Changing gears in these cars takes an age. You really feel as if you could probably, I don't know, get out, grab a bite to eat and jump back in before the gear changes sometimes. Such is the closeness of it. So the decision-making by John to go down to 3rd, that is crucial going through the Southern Loop. That says he has to do it. He doesn't have a choice.
He's got the purple middle sector of the lap, so very, very strong out of the Honda hairpin through Siberia, that part of the track. No one's gone quicker than him through the middle sector. Kyle Ridley owns the fastest first sector, so obviously a great load of speed across the start-finish line to start the lap, and then a great run through the Southern Loop especially. Not as good through the middle sector as John Merritt, so we're about to see our first times hit the timing column, give us an idea of who sits where on the first of 2 flying laps in this qualifying session. Of course, starting the 2nd lap now. for John Merritt is where we're probably going to see the quickest times where it's going to start to really, really matter. Merritt's the first time to hit the board. Handful more come tumbling in now, and Merritt still form of the field. Ridley to second, Riddell to third at the moment.
Yeah, and watch that timing board shuffle. Remember, we said 45 cars out on track here tonight. That's insane. Are you kidding me? 45 cars around Phillip Island? How are those things going to go racing? Because they're narrow. That's how they're going to do it. You know what they say when they're driving these things? They say Formula E, because that's how much fun. You've got to grin from ear to ear when you're driving these things. And I've got to grin from ear to ear when you're watching qualifying. Are you kidding, Dave? It's going to be an awesome night.
My cheeks hurt, but it's from biting my tongue when you made that horrible throw. Here's
Mate.
Gianni Lutzu out of the final corner. It's is that where he is? It is. It's absolutely flat out, and not only that, he's trying to take a short line there.
Well, momentum. There's two ways to speed up your lap time. You either go faster or you make the track shorter. Well, that's one way.
Yeah, interesting. It puts him to third, and it shows that first opening time from Merritt was very, very solid. Haaland within a tenth, but then 0.2 of a second is a massive amount in these Formula Vs, really, comparatively. It is a fixed setup. Everyone in identical Vs, identical motors, identical setup. It's the driver in the cockpit at the computer that matters for these lap times.
And you see there, David, that's my biggest problem. That's why I haven't been as successful in sim racing. Driver in the cockpit, big problem.
Yeah, fair enough. So Jordan Bielek is going to put a time to the board, but it is this final lap that most of our competitors are on now where it's really, really going to matter. John Merritt finishes his second lap. He goes fractionally quicker there, but not a tenth improvement, only a couple hundredths. So where will Josh Monroe go?
It's going to be close, yeah. Up and down the field, it's really going to be nothing in it. And have a look, most importantly, at the guys. So we've got a few guys that have dropped underneath that 57 lap time. But have a look at the guys that are right around the 57.0. So we've got 57.012 for Lee Partridge, Carl Ridley 57.021, Joshua Burton 57.027. 6 thousandths of a second separating those guys. Glenn Riddell 57.051. 57.150, 57.164, 57.180. I could go on. There's actually 2 times further down between Ross Thalen and John Marinas. 157.406, 157.408. 2 thousandths of a second. I said it was going to be thousands.
Another great measurement is going to be how many cars do we have within 1 second of that pole position? Because right now it's 22. It could be more. So Lutzu goes up into third on his second flying lap. Again, just thousandths of a second, pipping Crisdale and Cuts there. It's Alex Newton. Second flying lap, looking to improve on a 58.1 line. Comes up pretty quickly, improves on it by 0.3, which is of course going to be worth quite a lot of positions.
Yeah, a lot of positions up and down the field. My word, are you kidding me? I said I was excited about 40 cars on track. I'm suddenly starting to realize how many 40 cars is that are going to be floating around the track. It's going to be an intense race. We've got, 2 races coming your way as well. Was it 3 races coming your way? So that means don't tee somebody off in that first race. If you're not necessarily happy with the block that maybe gets thrown on you, maybe let it slide in the first race. Get one back over them in the third race, because that's where the big points, that's where you're sort of going to be really targeting. You don't want to put yourself at the back of the field for a reverse grid race. Perhaps, if your race 2 goes badly, finish in P20, that's going to be pole for the third race of the night. That could be crucial as well. There could be a few drivers right around that 20th position. I think when the draft gets out here, we're just going to see that whole pack just clumped together, and there is nothing better. Have you ever seen an under 10s soccer game?
Yeah, from on the pitch.
Yeah, there's just mob of kids moving around following the ball. A little bit like that, a lot less kicking, and hopefully some really clean racing.
With these formats of racing, when we have that sort of top 20 invert for one of the races, I always think, do you want to be in that section of the field that is subject to the invert? If it's a top 10 invert, you want to make sure you're in the top 10. If it's top 20, you want to make sure you're in the top 20. You don't really want to qualify or finish 22nd, 25th, around that part of the field. You're on the outside looking in while the fun happens a little bit ahead of you. Because if you can crack into the 20, then that invert would really, really help your starting position for the other races. I can hear trumpets because there is royalty with us. Reese Gardner, the Southpaw racer, he is out there. I think he might have used up all of his qualifying lap. No, he was a little late out of the pit lane, so he is going to get this as his second and final lap. Where can the number 94 go?
Most importantly, did he pack his camera? Because the Penguins are down over there somewhere. He's got a lot of time to contemplate the Penguins as he runs down this main straight. Maybe he can get a few snaps. Yeah, that's a great lap from Reese.
He found almost a whole second, I think, on that lap, and it jumps him up into starting 13th, half a second away from pole. My measurement says there's 23 cars within a second of pole position. That pole position is John Merritt. He not only starts at the front of the field, he starts on the preferred side of the racetrack. There is going to be a hornet's nest of buzzing V's right behind him because the rest of the grid goes Mikey Harland, Gianni Lutzu, Rob Crisdale, Jason Cutts, Lee Partridge as the top 6. Kyle Ridley, Josh Burton, Glenn Riddle, Brodie Watts, Queensland Formula V driver Sean McKenzie and Matthew Wall as our top 12. And this grid is a big one. It goes on. There's Reese Gardner. There's Cam Edwards, Ross Thallon, Johnny Marinas, Ray Oliver, Justin McLean. Scott, take a look through the rest.
Yeah, Liam Caplice and Trevor Hearn are going to be on row 10. James Nesbitt and Dean Hunt on row number 11. Stephen Butcher and Tony Power are your row number 12. Moving back to row 13 is Tony Baker off alongside of it. Josh Munro, Matthew Disanovsky. Hope I get that one right. If he doesn't, please let me know afterwards. Alex Newton, Dylan Thomas, Ben Breyer, your top 15 rows. Moving back, Franz Esterbauer, Mike Pepper, Ayrton Filippi, Alex McDonald, Gary Myers, and Drew Beecham. Your top 18 rows. Your 19th row is Mick Fisher, Neville Bettridge, Corey Horder, Jordan Bialik, Phil Gardner and Scott Craig, your 21st rows. And finally, our back rows of the grid includes race controllers here tonight. Andrew Gamo is on row 22nd, Keegan Baker and Jonathan Hancock are your race controllers. Matty Walker, I can hear some revving of engines.
Well, it's not because they're quite ready to go yet. There are some very, very keen drivers there. Wanted to hit their revs, ready to drop the clutch as we go racing. Look at that grid. Look at that field for the opening race of the Formula Vee Australia E-Series. What a great car, what a great field, what a great circuit. 3 races ahead of us here tonight. The lights are on for race 1, 15 minutes. Green flag drops, they roll away, smoke in the air from the tyres, smoke in the air from the engines, and a great launch from the pole setter, John Merritt. The slipstream is going to evaporate that almost immediately, but of course, 3 wide, 4 wide behind. It all kicks off here, down through turn number 1. Still a great lead from Merritt, great launch, but he is going to have to be strategic. He is going to have to employ all of his racecraft for the whole rest of this race because there is a lot of talented drivers behind him and already some contact deeper in the field. That's why qualifying was so important.
Yeah, I can see Andrew Gamo has got a broken right front wheel. I was actually on board with him. I wanted to see how far back it was. He was starting before the end of the curbing in the last corner. That's how long the field is. There's going to be some cars when you head to tracks like Bathurst, they're going to be starting around the kink and that. So start to watch these guys now. Have a look at John, already defending down the inside, and there's huge chaos in the background. It's all gone a little bit sideways. Did Gardner get through that? Did Reese get through that? He did. He's still in P13.
Ross Thallon and a bunch of other cars from that section of the field involved there. Here is that, maybe that sort of leapfrog you were talking about earlier. Gianni Lutzu threw into the lead. John Merritt, of course, right with him, immediately back side by side. Maybe a bit of teamwork action there. Mikey Harland and Robert Crisdale up in this pack as well. It's looking almost like a 7-car breakaway potentially here. They were 2 wide, 3 rows deep as they head over the hill at Lukey Heights down and towards MG. Lutzu holds on to the lead, runs out very, very wide. I'd be careful doing that. He holds on to it. Merritt right back in second. Mikey Harland into third. But of course, it is full throttle, absolute flat chat for what's going to feel like an age out of MG, almost all the way down to the southern loop.
Yeah, have a look at the way that they use the draft now. Where are these these guys positioning themselves. So we saw Gianni's qualifying, like pinned himself against the fence. Merritt's got the nose ahead.
They're going 5 wide for the lead, down the pit straight at Phillip Island, and it looks like Lee Partridge to go from 5th into 1st and lead them through turn 1. Absolute crazy scenes from the Formula V in the opening race of the opening round.
Remember what I said, ladies and gentlemen. Check out what you're seeing out on your screen. If you think that this is exciting, maybe you ought to get in one of these things in real life. Dave said they're an absolute blast, I can tell you. Mate, anytime
I said they're comfy.
They're comfy? Okay. All right, better than my lounge chair.
No, I'm not stealing any valor here. I've not raced one, but I've sat in one, and even that gets you going when you know how the racing could go. Super close of wheel banging here in our leading pack. Everyone keeps their nose in front of their tail, and you're gonna have Sean McKenzie run a bit wide off the circuit there, but I think so critical not to DNF this race number 1, the way it sets the grid for race number 2, in turn setting the grid for race number 3. Justin McLean around.
So there was a few cars off in the background. Good spot on that one. McLean was one of them. One of the critical things I think there for McKenzie is caution's the better part of valor. Look how he took to the runoff road. He recognised he wasn't going to get through the turn, looked after the car. He'll always have a chance to get back in there. Mikey Hartland, have a look at the camera. He's talking to someone there in the background. Have a look at the eyes, scanning, looking for the opportunity. He's looking, where's the free lane of air? Where can I stick the nose? Where can I make some advantage? Down the inside, the door might open.
Qualifying was all about that absolute speed over 1 lap. This race is about the positioning, it's about the chess, it's about the racecraft. Because you could be the quickest car on 1 lap in this pack, but if you get outfoxed onto the pit straight, if you get outfoxed over Lukey Heights, you could drop a lot of positions very quickly, despite a little bit of carnage. Look at this, 15 cars in 5 seconds up front. John Merritt back to the lead, it looks like, but it all can change oh so quickly, because I think that's Lutzu going back down the inside to the lead. You just want to steal an expression, book your ticket to the final lap on this one.
Yeah, keep yourself alive in the race. It's absolutely critical. In terms of open wheel racing, everything's right there. You can't afford to bang wheels too tightly. The suspension, it's brittle, it's stiff. That doesn't mean that it wants to take those blows. It means it's designed to get the tyre pressed into the surface of the road as best as possible. They're not a comfy, well look, the seating might be comfy. Maybe for David, maybe if you're David. But that doesn't necessarily mean it's the most comfortable ride of your life. They're definitely not as comfortable as your cars at home, but we don't go racing for comfort, Dave.
No, I do it for adrenaline, for the applause and the snacks. So Lutzu leading, teammates Riddle and John Merritt maybe working together pretty effectively to get up into 2nd and 3rd. We thought there could be some team games afoot here up front. Almost chops across the nose of Lee Partridge in 4th, and it's Burden in 5th at the moment up front.
Have a look at that pack. There's a lapped car in this pack, by the way. There's a lapped car sitting in between the 2 packs. Somebody's obviously rejoined from the pits, got that fast repair, get themselves back out there in the race and get themselves out there having fun. Mate, look, where do you look? Look. Oh, my word. Oh, my
exit of
word.
MG has been so deadly for many drivers here, and there's AstroTurf out there and you don't want to get on it. It's got no grip, but your exit off MG is so critical to how you can position yourself, how you can make moves down the pit straight. Are we looking for 4 wide again? We had 5 wide for 2nd place. We're 3 wide for the lead. Everywhere you look, battles like this, drivers' hearts in their mouth, and it looks like the teammates from Echuca Toyota are going to go through into 1 and 2.
I got some news as well from inside that first pack. There was 2 drivers down the front straightaway who were doing a little bit of bump drafting, but they weren't nose to tail. They were sort of front left of the nose to right rear of the rear nose sort of thing. So you sort of had more contact patch to try and transfer some of that momentum. You've got to be so careful though doing that. You can break suspension at a moment's notice. The drivers that can perfect that technique, well, they're going to get a little bit of a momentum boost down the straights.
3 wide for the lead. Gianni Lutzu's not going to give up on this, and he's going to cut through, hot knife through the butter, down the middle, back into the race lead, and he's not so worried about the track limits, and there's a couple of them off. Jason Cutts, Cam Edwards. I don't pick the 3rd car. Yeah.
So, oh no, it's Gardner dropping as well, I think. Yeah, so there's sort of 3-4 cars all tied up in that. That's unfortunate for those guys. That trims our lead pack down and takes a few more out of them. Single file a little bit back in. Now, see, the benefit here, Dave, is you don't actually want to be second place in these queues when you come onto the last straight. You actually want to be third place in the queues. Why? You get a little bit of draft, you get past that lead guy in the queue. You get a little bit more draft and the other guy went past it. Now you're in the lead, and you got a little bit more momentum. Oh, that was Riddell very wide. He's going to lose a ton of spots.
It's the exit of MG again, it's the AstroTurf, it's the grass, and it's going to compromise your run the whole way. Merritt leads, Lutzu in second, Harlan goes through in a third. And Riddle, Burden, Partridge, those are the cars that are going to get past because of that little mistake. 3 wide, here we go, and I see what you're talking about, you know. First is leading, second has the slipstream and pulls out, then third place has a buffet of slipstream and gets the slingshot by all of them, and it will be 3 wide for the lead as they go down in towards turn number 1 from Lutzu slicing through the teammates. Now it's Merritt who gets chopped either way by the different teammates.
And you have a look at who the driver was that was P3 coming out of the last corner. He's now leading. That's Mikey Harlan. Now, what they'll try and do here to Merritt is they'll try and gum up the lanes. They'll try and give him nowhere to go. He's sort of going to follow somebody. But the thing is, remember, 6 minutes on the clock. What's our lap times? We've got about 2 minutes to a lap, bit over 2 minutes to our laps. That means we're probably going to get 3 more laps in. Oh, look at how wide they are.
3 wide, 2 rows deep for the lead. Our leading pack of 9 cars, and it could still end in disaster. It could be anyone's. 10th place Cameron Edwards, I think, around on the exit back there, and he's going to lose out a little bit.
Yeah, so have you ever tried to squeeze your car into a spot that your car really shouldn't go? Yeah, you're going to see that up and down the pack throughout the season tonight. Because remember, ladies and gentlemen, look at how tiny these cars are. Look at how much space they need to get through the field. And remember, they went 5 wide down the front straight. There was, look, I mean, if you wanted to open the car door and get out, you couldn't. You were boxed in.
So this has been one of the trouble spots into MG. Almost a bit of a lockup, and there is! Oh, Mikey Harland. Not a good exit there. Balks a couple of cars. Really heads up. Quick reaction stuff from everyone. No big contact, but it shows how difficult it is on the brakes into there, and the drivers sometimes pushing a little too much speed through there and running wide out the exit. Surprising me, but that is one of the unexpected action zones of this race and of this circuit. There at MG, last real braking zone of the lap. Drivers trying to jockey for position, set up for this mega slipstream run. Downhill, down the pit straight, 4 wide for the lead. This is where the moves can happen, and that's why MG, which leads into it, becomes so critical. There's a view. That's how close they get. The cameras get a little confused. Millimeter stuff in it. This is a change for the lead there because Burden finds no grip off the racing line wide from the southern loop.
But you see, the thing here, Dave, is that sometimes when somebody's just got that little bit of talent, the more at home with the setup, the more at home with the track conditions, sometimes they set sail. Yeah, that's not happening in Formula Vee, my friend. You're going to see battles for the lead all night long. But the best part is, it's not just the lead. Have a look at the battles for... I think
contact! And they spill. Merritt around. Crisdale as well. Lutzu to the lead. We are going to have a look at that one as well. It's these big braking zones. You've got no ABS on these things, obviously. And you just get in a little too hot in the pack like this. There's nowhere to swerve to miss. It's a little ambitious here from the 808. Rob Crisdale helping Merritt around.
Yeah, that's just a mistake. And for the guys at home, you go, well, why wasn't he braking a little bit earlier? Why wasn't he perhaps a little bit more prepared for that? You're in the slipstream. You're actually going in there a little bit faster than you normally would be. So reading your braking marker in those sort of situations can be difficult. You're racing for position. You want to get down the inside. Oh, Lutzu's made a mistake now. Let's open it up for Wall.
So it's almost looking like it could end up a 3-horse race. There will be 2 more laps after this one. So not about to start the final lap, but 1 more after that. But depending on how they battle here, you do have that next pack that could catch him. You've got teammates as 2/3 of this leading trio, so they can work together to not have the rest catch them. But you do have some teammates in the pack behind who want to catch. So 3 wide for the lead, 4 wide over 4th. Why not? That's what every lap till the end seems like it's going to be.
Yep, so the main thing that I want to have a look at is where am I coming off of that last corner? And I need to test it based upon the current lap. So who was leading, how far back they were coming off of that last corner, and did they get the nose ahead? This is your last opportunity to test it this lap. That chasing pack is just about in the draft. They're just about going to tag onto this pack, so you've got them to consider. I'm testing it. This lap, I'm 3rd coming out of the last corner. I want to be in 3rd. I don't want to get the move done. I don't want to lead coming out of the last corner in the last lap, because I don't think you lead when you come to the line. Where do you want to be, Dave?
Oh, right here watching SimSpeed TV, mate, I reckon. Talking about setting sail, Mr. Myers and Dale Jr. are setting sail out on a yacht somewhere out there. Genuinely, they are. On iRacing, you load into this circuit, find the yacht out there. Dale Earnhardt Jr. is on it. Who is on it for the win here, though? They are coming around to start the final lap. Lutzu is outnumbered against the pulse tuning guys of Matthew Wall and Glenn Riddle. They've got their teammate John Merritt in the next pack. Do they want to help him? Lutzu runs it out wide of MG, not the first, not going to be the last to do it. And there's less than a second, 3rd to 4th. I think it is anyone in the top 8 to win this on the final lap of race 1 of 3.
Okay, watch this. Is Riddle going to get his nose ahead at the start-finish line? White flag's going to come out. This is the critical thing. I think Glenn Riddell's going to get his nose ahead by the time they get to the start-finish line. Oh, there's nothing in it. Oh, my word. Mate, I tell you what, I'm glad we got timing beacons, because if this was still done on eyesight, you try and pick it, Dave. I can't.
Yeah, no, absolutely not. And everyone into the slipstream, the 3 teammates reunited up front. Are they going to form a roadblock on the final lap? I'm with you. It seems like you don't want to lead out of MG. 2nd or 3rd can pip you to the line. So how do the teammates do it? How does everyone else work it? Because they've got teammates now behind them in 4th and 5th. It is a team game today, and they are 3 wide in formation, leading the field on the final lap, trying to box in their competitors, and still anyone could win. Drama in the background. Sean McKenzie's just going to keep it off the wall. No drama just yet for our top 10.
Are you kidding? 3 wide for the majority of the final lap so far. That's absolutely nuts. Right, have a look at Haaland. Have a look at Lutzu. They're saying we've got to break this pack up and we've got to do it before the last corner. That's smart driving. They get off of MG and it's 1, 2, 3 for the Pulse Racing guys. Forget it. One of those guys is going to win it. So they've gone early. They've got to break it up, and now they're 3 wide already.
Can't block out Lutzu. He's got the inside as they come across Lukey Heights. Can he come across and outbreak them all into MG? Where do you want to be? Who can do it? Still anyone's game. Race 1 of 3, though, you do got to think about the long game. Around the outside, Lutzu can't hold on. Merritt back in front. And you just got to think, who can get the slipstream? Who can get a quick run out of the final corner to get their nose first to the line?
You know what? It's going to be either Haaland or Josh Burden. One of the guys that's got free wing. Lutzu's got to run here, but he's got no one supporting him with the draft. And there's a car off on the right-hand side that's slow.
The checkered flag's there. The timing line comes up. They all fan out. And your guess is as good as mine. But Mikey Haaland... No, it's a thousandth of a second dead heat there. And Matthew Wall takes it from Mikey Haaland, from Gianni Lutzu in a 3-way tie. You need that 4th digit on the stopwatch to take it away. This is the next pack. This is the battle for pole position in race number 2. Top 20 invert. Who finishes 20th gets the pole, and it will be Sean McKenzie.
And he had a rough race in race number 1. Things just didn't go to plan for Sean McKenzie. Now he's going to have a little bit of control. Matty Wall wins the first race. The Pulse Tuning get 1 on the board. I think it's a teams thing. I think you got to look at this and just sort of go, I'm not going to be able to necessarily win every race. Look at that timing. Dave?
Insanity as they fanned out 6 wide to take the checkered flag of race number 1. A 10th of a second, not enough to cover the top 6 cars. Matthew Wall takes the first win of the season in the Formula Vee Australia E-Series from Mikey Haaland, Gianni Lutzu, Josh Burden, John Merritt, Kyle Ridley, Glenn Riddle, Lee Partridge, Trevor Hearn, and Rob Crisdale as our top 10. Let's look at the next 10 and remind ourselves that these 20 get inverted to set the grid for our next 15-minute race just moments away. Reese Gardner, Cam Edwards, Mike Pepper, Ray Oliver, Dean Hunt, Jason Cutts, Alex McDonald, Ben Breyer, Ross Thalen, and Sean McKenzie. Well, he didn't seem lucky on that final lap, but he thankfully stayed inside of that top 20, and he starts with the perfect view of Bass Strait and the Southern Ocean for the next race. The rest of the field deserve to be spoken about as well. Josh Munro, Franz Estabauer, Tony Baker, James Nesbitt, Alex Newton, Matthew Walker, Johnny Marinas, Matthew Desonsky, Corey Horter, Liam Caplice there in 30th, and Jordan Bielek, Justin McLean, Stephen Butcher, Scott Craig, Neville Bettridge, Dylan Thomas, Phil Gardner, Brodie Watts, Mick Fisher, and Drew Beecham. Some of the last cars on the lead lap. And then lap down, Myers, Phillip, Gamo, Tony Power, and that looks like some of our race control there.
Yeah.
Well, they don't have time to catch their breath. We hardly do as well. They're on the grid ready for another 15-minute race. And once again, it is Sean McKenzie. Hey, Jay found him! Jay found him. There they are. That is a nice looking flybridge yacht.
Can we get tickets to that boat? That might be the safest place to watch it from. I've seen so many cars go flying. Who knows who's going to win this one?
If they let me aboard, I'll bring a case and a couple of bottles. Don't worry about that. I'll come equipped. The engine's rev, the smoke is in the air, 15 minutes, reload, lock and fire for race 2. Screaming down once again, the driving teams fan out. And of course, that pack we saw racing ferociously but cleanly for the race win now start 20th, 19th, 18th, 17th, 16th. They're in the meat and potatoes of this pack with only a short amount of time to try to work their way forward. And they can't afford a DNF because that'd even start the 20-minute race 3 even further back in the grid. They've got to have some degree of patience, but not too much. Already there's drama through Southern Loop on race number 1, and Glenn Riddle is out.
3 poles! All 3 poles cars! No way! The guys that were right at the front in race number 1, all of them off the track at the Southern Loop. You know what? They've all gone in there going, oh, we've got the same grip as the first race. That was hot tyres. This is cold tyres.
And a huge amount of the field have gone skittled. Have they stayed off the wall and kept their cars in one piece? Hopefully. Sean McKenzie, it looks like, still leads from Jason Cutts, and those two have a little bit of a breakaway. Can they keep it? This is where everyone else is. That some drivers really making hay on the first lap. There's no grip in those tyres.
I was about to say, have a look at the drive from Johnny Lutsu. What did he start? Like 17th or so? Already up to P3. John Merritt, already up to P5. But there's a breakaway at the front, and there's 3 seconds in it. It's going to take a mega drive from Lutsu. But McKenzie and Cutts have got to work together if they want to win this race. If they do, it's all in the palm of their hand. They can work together, they can set sail, they can run off with this thing. Swap drafting, it's go.
There we go. That's the Lutsu line through MG. Bring it back onto the pavement before the next corner. So he has Hearn, Merritt, Harland, and Ridley with him. And then there's some gap to Marinas, Ray Oliver, Joshua Munro, James Nesbitt. They did manage to bridge this gap from the 3-car breakaway in race number 1. So I wonder if it's possible in race number 2. Jason Cutts has disappeared on us. So Sean McKenzie's now alone, and I don't think he wants that.
No, he wants to draft. He 100% wants to draft. We've already talked about swap draft. Oh, my word!
Harland and Partridge, I think that would be on the outside of turn number 1. Locking wheels. Trevor Hearn.
I was just going to say, it might actually be a perfect opportunity for Mikey Harland to sort of get an onboard shot. What's going through his mind? How is he responding to all of these images? I don't want to be in that cockpit anymore. I don't want to have anything to do with that.
It's always crazy everywhere you take these kind of cars in a field like this. Really, really competitive field with a lot of super talented drivers. And, well, Phillip Island turns that up another notch, I think, with how long that pit straight is down towards a super quick turn 1. This is a replay of that start, and we are going to look what happens to the likes of Riddle and others.
He's proudly brought to us by Chuka Toyota as well, I believe. Keep your eyes out up and down the field for chaos. So this is working for the three pulse tuning cars. There's a little bit of action going on a little bit further down. Somebody blinked out, so somebody's connection was having difficulties. Then all of a sudden, somebody loses the rear end. One of the pulse cars, one of them got through. So there was four cars out there.
Even higher up the field than that, doesn't it? It starts sort of almost around 4th or 5th.
Oh, word.
Well, Jason Cutts has reappeared. Not optimal that happens, but I guess it's good for him. He's still in this race. Is it good for Sean McKenzie? How are these two going to attempt to work together? They've only got about 2 seconds now to Merritt, Lutzu, and Ridley, who proved so quick, so clinical and surgical in race number 1. They are attempting to leapfrog, but I think you've got really quick drivers in this group behind who are also very adept at working together to close this gap. They understand how this style of racing works. They know what to do for the first 10 minutes of the race versus what to do in the last 5 minutes.
Yeah, so it's sort of a race of sort of, I would say perhaps 3 phases. Even though they're only a 15-minute race, I'd break it up into 5 sort of minute packets. Actually, even less than that. I'd break it up into lap number 1, the final lap, and everything in the middle. That's sort of how you're going to split it up. Lap number 1, survive. Just make sure you're in touch with that group that you want to be a part of. If there's somebody you want to keep your eyes on cutting their way through the field, sort of keep an eye on where they're going through, but keep the thing together. Number 2, look after the car, keep yourself attached to the group, keep trying to move forward. Pick off places where you can, but make sure that you're working with the cars around. Oh no!
Things are going to get more complicated for our leaders, though, because a lot of those cars heavily damaged in the first lap have rejoined the race, and the time on the tow truck means that they are rejoining the race pretty well smack dab in front of our leaders. No dramas yet from that. Jason Cutts and Sean McKenzie got very good treatment, and we didn't see Lutzu, Merritt, or Ridley lose any time or get put in any awkward spots because of that, but it is always a risk, and they don't have that perfectly clean view in front of them anymore, and it will be a cause of anxiety because it's something that they can't control in the situation that without the traffic they would have more control over. Racing drivers like control.
Well, one of the biggest things about sitting this close to another car is Gianni Lutzi just sort of passes as close as he possibly can. So what it's critical, what the drivers are trying to do right now is you don't want to pull out too early. The biggest thing I noticed about those overtakes between Cutts and McKenzie on the previous lap was the driver that was in second pulled out as soon as he got to the exit of the last corner. You want to build a little bit more momentum than that. Why? You pass it, you can get a little bit of a draft, you can keep swapping back and forth. If you pull out the instant you have any momentum, so you want to come off perhaps MG, say a car length, 2 car lengths back, and then build all that momentum up, then overtake them. You'll actually go somewhere with that. If you pull out straight away, you'll go nowhere. You're only going to have a K, maybe 2 Ks at the most, sort of overlap in sort of momentum. If you stay in that draft for longer, you can have a lot more momentum.
It'll be interesting to see how this one plays out. Not a bad last lap, though, from McKenzie and Cutts. 56.7 plays, I think, the best lap in this pack here, 56.6. So they do have the potential to trip over each other a little too much in this triplet, but individually, massive speed, obviously, from Merritt, the qualifying pole sitter, and led plenty of laps in race number 1. Behind them, of course, battling for a great deal of points and where they're going to start race number 3. Ray Oliver, John Marinas, Joshua Burden, and Lee Partridge. Burden and Partridge are both really quick and experienced in this car as well. Side by side over Lukey Heights, very common sight now.
Sorry, Dave, did you just say points racing in round number 1 of the Formula Vee series? I'm sorry, that doesn't kick in yet. This is all about bragging rights, round number 1. It's all about going, I'm the faster driver right now. Championship? Yeah, that matters in a few weeks' time. Let's forget that until after Christmas.
Okay, we'll wrap that one, put it under the tree, and open it a bit later. How about this lap? You can see on the timing column the gap, Merritt in 3rd to McKenzie and Cutts at the lead. Goes from 2.5 seconds last time they crossed the line to 2.3, but this race disappears quickly with just 4 more laps. They need a little more than that if they're going to challenge for the lead. I'd say McKenzie and Cutts have been a little conservative with the slipstreaming, as you talked about. But with just the two of them, they've never blocked the leader from taking the racing line through any of these corners. So they're not as quick down the straights as they could maximize, but they've been really good through all of the corners. Just the two of them not stepping on each other's feet in the corners. Difficult place to be for Brodie Watts. He gets fully Ricardo zonted.
That's, yeah, and for the field coming down his way. That's a difficult one. They've recovered quite nicely. Oh, who's involved in this? Oh, no, for Josh Burden. Heartbreak. And Johnny Marinas. I actually just heard Johnny apologise. He said, yeah, mate, that's on me. I'm really sorry about that.
Oh, it happened a tiny bit before that, didn't it? So here they are. Oh, yeah, there wasn't room to merge there. And that's coming from the exit of Southern Loop down towards turn number 3. Tries to pull out of the slipstream, but there was a driver there. So, yeah, understandable the frustration caused from that. Really solid lap from the pursuing pack, though, this one. From 2.3 seconds back as they crossed the line last time. It's almost down to 1.5 here. John Merritt charging this train forward. They only need a couple more tenths to hook that slipstream, draw themselves in, reel in the leaders.
Yeah, and to be honest, I hope that it doesn't get a little bit tight. I've just been down and I've had a chat to Barney down at the flag stand. I said, look, mate, you're going to need the high-speed shutter on to get the photo finish this time. He said, I'm going to need another 10 minutes or so to get it all worked up. I said, you got 5. We'll see if he can get it out this time.
I would really like a line scan camera. That would be really interesting. They're a weird piece of camera kit that you see used for horse racing typically, but there's some other things that they can before that kind of photo finish, and it's going to be needed. So we're talking about first and second not stealing the racing line away from each other. And I think you did see Mackenzie let Cuts take the preferred line through the Southern Loop there. There is not a single place on this racetrack that isn't busy like this. You can look packs for 1st, 3rd, 6th, 8th, 11th, 16th, 18th. They're battling in a three-way fight over 27th, 28th and 29th at the moment. I wish we could show you it, but there is no one here in Formula Vee Australia E-Series having a boring night.
Yeah, look, even the drivers that may have had a dodgy race one, honestly, sometimes I kind of want to start these sorts of races from the back at the start of the night, work my way through, race 2, pick up a couple spots, race 3, let's see if we get it towards the front. Those are the kind of fun nights. It's you're overtaking people, you're racing different people all night long. But then again, racing at the front, just racing, just being out there on track. Have a look at the gap though from Merritt. That's critical. He's now in the drafting range, so he's picking up that little bit of extra momentum. 2 laps left to run. Well, these guys have got there at exactly the right time.
Yeah, a bit more lap traffic again, doing everything it could to stay out of the way. But Mackenzie and Cuts, this hasn't been their quickest lap because Merritt, Lutzu and Ridley have arrived. And with 2 laps to go, it's looking like a 5-way fight for line honours once again. And yeah, you are going to need to measure every 1,000th of a second if it's a repeat of race number 1.
So remember what I said earlier on in the race? Cuts pulled out very, very early on. Everyone else has got momentum on him. 4 wide. Here we go, Dave.
Yeah, and I think I want to be Lutzu in this. He's all the way to the inside of the 4. He swoops through. Merritt goes to 2nd. And Mackenzie started at all in 1st. He's going to end up in 4th. But what it has done is driven a little bit of a wedge between Lutzu, Merritt, and Ridley. So now Lutzu's separated from the similarly painted car that's now in 5th. Merritt wants to look down the inside of 3. The racing line tends to be the right-hand side, breaking into 4 though. So it's kind of a compromise. The shortest run through 3 doesn't let you attack or defend into 4. But Merritt will still hold on to it. 5-way fight with only a couple kilometres left in this.
Oh my word. It's going to come down to the same sort of thing. Can we get a 5-wide finish? We got a 4-wide finish in the last one. I think this time might be a 5-wide. 5 cars throwing it down at each other. Are they going to go now? When do you pull out of the draft? It's a guessing game. Those guys, do you have a good hand stashed up the sleeve? How many chips are you going to do? Put it all on black? Which is the fastest horse?
I know how to play bingo.
I-61?
Well, we've got 5 in a line here, but they are going to be 5 across, I think, at the end of next lap. They're about to throw out the white flag. They all have to scatter to avoid Matthew Disanowski. And it is going to be the white flag. It is going to be one more lap of Phillip Island in this race. Merritt will lead them to the line. Is that the place to be, though? He's got Lutzu, Cutts, McKenzie, and Ridley for company. Wow. 3 wide across the line to start the final lap, and that is just to set the stage.
Well, Barney's nearly got that camera ready. I don't know if he's going to have it in time. Oh, my word. It's going to be close. 1/1000th in the first race. Can we get a dead heat in race 2? It's that close. Pick him. Pick one.
Well, interestingly, Mackenzie's back through to the lead there, so he got caught by the pack, but he's positioned himself well to start the final lap. It is like rolling 5 dice here. Merritt in position to look to get down the inside at 4, but he has maybe blocked himself in and taking that shorter line. Looks like it'll pay off for Ridley.
He's just picking his dance partner. He's picking his time. Honestly, John Merritt's looking like he's trying not to get to the front of this yet. The problem that these guys have is now they've got 2 lapped cars in position 43 and position 44. So that's Phil Gardner and Scott Craig. They're running 1 lap and 2 laps down respectively. They could offer a tow here. That's going to hamper plans. That's going to give the leaders a chance. They're going to come through. That's them right there.
The time runs out. We're on the last lap, and it is anyone's game still. All about the positioning over Lukey Heights out of MG and the long run in these Vs down towards the timing line where the checkered flag awaits for race number 2. That looks like a little deep through MG. Mackenzie's nose gets back underneath.
Oh!
John Merritt in the wall. Kyle Ridley in the wall. Sean McKenzie might have been given a gift here, but they're in the slipstream behind him. Gianni Lutzu, is there time to pick up the tow to steal the win away from Sean McKenzie? McKenzie will do everything he can to take the shortest line, trying to break the tow. Lutzu, Ridley for 2nd and 3rd. What are we going to get at the line? Sean McKenzie by 200ths of a second. The man converts pole into the race win in race number 2.
Oh, and look at the cars still trying to crawl their way out of the last corner. I don't think that car's got enough momentum. Steven's going to try and put the clutch in, leave it in neutral, and let it roll down the hill. Because he might just make the line. Ah, I should have put it in neutral. That's unfortunate. So that's an incident that's happened at the last corner. Sean McKenzie has, what do we talk about? Don't necessarily have the best of race 1s. Capitalize on it in race 2. Who cares? Who cares? It's just about overtaking cars left, right, and center. It's just about finishing races. You know what, Dave? I'm going to change my mind about that call I said about waiting till after Christmas. Maybe I want to score top 10s in as many races as I can. Who cares? You're going to win every now and again. You get a great finish, but it's about just maximizing points, I think, the whole way through if you want to be champion. Forget trying to win every race.
Yeah, he's a driver who will be very, very thankful for that top 20 invert in race number 2, and that's a format we're going to continue to see for future rounds as well. It definitely gives us some spice to race 2 of 3. And from having qualified 13th, gone through the gravel on the final lap of race number 1 to finish 20th, start from pole and manage to convert it under great pressure in race number 2. Just edges out Gianni Lutzu and Kyle Ridley. And it's Ray Oliver, Lee Partridge, John Merritt, Alex Newton, Justin McLean, Ross Ballin, and Jason Cutts ends up 10th.
Oh, we thought we had our winners. We thought they were gone. It wasn't enough. They got caught by lap traffic. Things happen. That's racing, ladies and gentlemen. You saw a cup motor race. Oh, I tell you what, if I was Toto Wolff right now, I'd be having a few questions to race control. Yeah, would they be good ones? Would they result in my way? Probably not. That's just car racing, ladies and gents.
Look, I'm not a superstitious man, but I put to you, if you want to win Formula V races, let me sit in your car. So Glenn Riddle, Rob Crisdale, Trevor Hearn, Mikey Harlan, Josh Burden, Drew Beecham, Brody Watts, Tony Baker, Jordan Bielek, and James Nesbitt. The results on that complete the top 20. flick through the rest of the grid because this is how they will then start race number 3. No more inverts. It's all about that sort of combined race 1, race 2 into our slightly longer 20-minute race 3. It's about surviving that carnage, I think, as much as it is, and then positioning yourself for the toe, for leapfrogging to the checkered flag.
So
We got to thank some of the people that make Formula Vee Australia E-Series possible, though, because, man, it is off to a really, really awesome start. See him there.
I was going to say, is there anybody out there who wants to buy me a Formula V? I'm available for your race team. I'm currently not picked up by anyone. SimSpeed are the only guys I'm working for at the moment. Anyone want to buy me a Formula V? I think I've got to race these things, Dave.
Well, it's I'm not sure that's a great investment, but what is a great investment is everyone who's been on board to support this Formula Vee Australia E-Series, because they are being paid dividends very early in this championship. So it's Formula Vee Australia, it's CXC Racing, Lux Performance, Giant Mandara, V-Race Experience, Lytech Systems, and Southern Cross Esports as our sort of race control, helping with some of the organisation and the promoting. Wow. Let's take a really quick break here on SimSpeed TV, because when we come back, it's the final of 3 races of the Australian Formula Vee E-Series from Phillip Island Circuit. And by all accounts, we've had the entrees, we're ready for the main course. It's going to be a banger. Stick with us.
This is your chance to get behind the wheel. The opportunity to race just like the pros. From the grassroots levels, where we all got our start, to the most popular race cars on the planet. From the fairgrounds of Nashville to the high banks of Daytona, to tracks that will never be forgotten. Realistic driving, intense competition, all from the comfort of your own home. This is the ultimate motorsports simulation. This is iRacing. This is the world's premier online racing simulation. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat from your home computer with the most realistic online motorsports experience you'll find anywhere. Race virtually in the world's biggest events with officially licensed series, cars, and tracks. From the high banks of Daytona to the blistering speeds of Indianapolis, the dirt of Eldora to the world's most legendary road courses. It's all here, and with more than 180,000 people just like you already driving, you'll always have someone to race. Ready to get behind the wheel? Sign up at iRacing.com to get started.
This is iRacing, the world's premier online racing game. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat to experience today's newest form of competitive motorsport, virtual racing, all from your home PC. Race virtually in indoor series from NASCAR, IndyCar, IMSA, the World of Outlaws, Aussie Supercars and more. Take on legendary circuits like Daytona, Silverstone and the Nürburgring. Join iRacing's global online racing community and get on track today at iRacing.com.
This is fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction, he's got rid of the outside of both of them! Maloney!
Oh, he's taking Anderson. Anderson's up top.
Oh my god! Oh! Big crash! Oh my goodness, half the field's gonna get rolled!
Second very close. These guys I want to make their way through the field very quickly. Oh, there we go. Oh no! That's massive! This is it! This is over! I can't believe this! Oh my god!
God, what?
Well, it's time for the final race of the night in the Formula Vee Australia E-Series. Heat 1 and 2 have been banging. Race wins decided by, I think, a cumulative 0.02 of a second. Race 1 and Race 2, absolute photo finishes, and they have set the grid for the 20-minute race number 3. Formula V's are such an exciting racing car, so accessible, and they race so closely. You are never by yourself and never lonely, it seems. It's wheel to wheel, lights to flag, and that's what we're expecting now out of this race number 3. Drivers gridding up now. I don't think that the extra 5 minutes is going to change the racing too much, Scott Rankin.
Yeah, look, I mean, maybe potentially. Gianni Lutsu at the moment is unfortunately not in the server, and I don't think he's going to get back in time. At best, he's going to start from pit lane at this rate, but he's not going to get back in the time. That's going to open a hole on that left-hand side of the grid, but there's no drafting support there. It means Sean's got a huge margin. Hang on. Is it row number 2 that's going to get the advantage? Maybe it's Kyle Ridley. Maybe it's Ray Oliver. Look at Ray Oliver who gets back to P4.
We're about to find out because the revs rise. The flag drops and we get this race underway. Sean McKenzie starting from pole for the second time. A lot of space behind him and not a great jump from Ridley, it might have been there. Ray Oliver actually going backwards initially off the start. McKenzie going straight to cover the inside line in towards turn number 1. Ridley and Partridge and then Merritt behind him. Almost 40 cars on the grid for this final race. It is a really congested racetrack and already a little bit of contact in the southern loop. Some cars spinning and spearing off. Our leader's relatively unaffected, but a tough break for some of those drivers.
Yeah, look, I mean, 20-minute race, but you don't want to be going backwards very, very early on. Dean Hunt, one of the Frog Elite Racing guys, he's unfortunately gone backwards. I actually sat on the grid that time, and I counted. How long did it take for the last car to get stopped by the start-finish line? Do you know? It was about 35 seconds. It takes about 35 seconds from the last row of the grid to get past the start-finish line. That's how many cars there are here tonight.
It's the only time you see first or second gear out of them because it's all third and fourth gear racing in these cars and around this track. And immediately we're into the pack racing stuff up front. McKenzie, the pole sitter, a little further back. Ridley has jumped through into the lead and now it's too wide, too deep for the positions behind him. Merritt trying to move forward. Ray Oliver trying to get back into the swing of it after maybe just not finding the clutch bite point on the initial race start.
Yeah, so obviously just shuffles a few places back. Don't be too upset about that. We've seen the racing thus far. You know that you're going to be sucked back into it. It's about where do you position yourself. When you're going backwards, you've actually got to watch your rear view mirror. You're not too worried about what's going out through the front. It's about letting yourself slot in, being patient, maybe not being aggressive with where you slot in, but you've got to slot in somewhere or else you're going to get tossed by the wayside.
Well, Ridley with almost half a second margin over them now, 4 wide, 3 wide behind. Looks like Merritt potentially swooping through into second.
So for those of you at home, I just went and double checked. There's no fuel limits on these cars. The maximum tank size is 20 litres. So unless the fuel limit at the start of the race was set a little bit lower than they need, I'm guessing we're going to need no pit stop from our 20 minutes.
Yeah, it's not really the style for these cars, isn't it? They don't need that to spice it up. The slipstream does it. The style of the racing does it. The quality of our competitors does it. Drama for Kyle Ridley. He's now out of the pack, so I didn't catch how he ended up off the circuit. But it takes 1 car out of this leading pack, but then the chasing group catches them, and it's 10 cars for the lead now that Glenn Riddle, Mikey Harland, Jason Cutts, Robert Crisdale, and Alexander Newton have joined the battle. We've had sort of, 3 cars for leading pack, 8 cars for leading pack. This is something fierce at the moment up front. 2 seconds will get you about 10 cars how they race at the moment, and it only gets tighter on the pit straight.
You know what was really interesting to see? We just drove under the 420 pie bridge. You know how much time you've got down the main straight? Well, if you set a pie over the rear engine, perhaps over the muffler or something, give yourself enough time throughout the race. Let's say about lap 5, reach back there, grab that pie, that's going to be all nice and cooked. You'll have long enough down the main straight to probably finish that thing. Just don't burn your time.
You must always blow on the pie. That's air-cooled, just like these cars. Merritt up front, McKenzie second, Partridge, it looks like in third there, potentially. Slipstream kicks into a higher gear here, and you see the drivers fan out, try to carry their momentum, and I think you got a good run out of fourth place there, because you then slipstream off second place, who passes first place, and it is going to work. That is going to hand off the race lead to the driver who started this lap in fourth place.
Yep, straights just barely long enough. So keep that in mind for when we head to Bathurst as well. We've got two straights of very, very similar length when we get there. Probably a little bit longer in those terms of things as well. So plenty of opportunity to be that third car in line and potentially get it past. How they'll bubble up and over the straights and the crown on the road at Bathurst, well, we'll have to find that out when we get there. But for now, Phillip Island.
Yeah, really excited for these cars at all of the Australian tracks and the as yet unannounced wildcard round. So 2 wide for the lead into one of the slower corners on the circuit. Mackenzie comes back through up front. Throw a blanket over a whole heap of cars that all have a really, really good chance at a good result here. Here's the next group, led by Trevor Hearn at the moment. Big mover in this pack, Phillip, started out at 26th and now runs 14th. So 12 positions gained in, 2.5 laps? Not bad.
You know, I'm getting the feeling, Dave, I actually kind of watch who earns the most places over the season. I think that's going to be more interesting than potentially who wins the races, because honestly, in these things, if you can keep the car clean and you can gain a ton of the spots, that says to me you're the most exciting driver, or some sort of fan driver. We need something focused upon that. Check out the concentration here from Mikey Harlan. Obviously, things haven't gone his way so far tonight. Look at the grit, the determination. It's not been a great night. How does he recover? That is the sign of a good driver, Dave. You would have seen that in the real world. Something goes wrong, how do you recover? How do you respond? Only great drivers respond well.
And those arms are air-cooled too, but he finds himself boxed up against the pit wall. That's the hard limit on how far left you can go. He's got one lane and he's boxed into position. They are 3 wide still, looking for the lead. They're 3 wide, 3 rows deep. It's like they're playing Connect 4 and there's contact. Mackenzie spinning off. Everyone else seems to be able to just about get away with it.
So the thing that I'm noting there, Dave, is that, yeah, let people sit in your car, but the luck's only good for 1 race in 3.
Yeah, all right. I'll cut that.
Look, it's good. It's good luck, but you've got to pick your race. If you've got a 3-race format, you probably win the middle race of the night, but the first and the last one, nah, you're not going to win those.
Sort of an inevitability of how close everyone wants to race, that 3 wide can work down the straight, 3 wide through the corners. It ends in trouble again for that pack behind. 3 wide through the Honda hairpin.
Oh, Sean, no. It's continued to go from heartache to heartbreak to, well, maybe I should have been somewhere else tonight. DRS replay. What's it going to show us here? So this is Mackenzie. Keep your eyes on him down through the middle of this pack. He's okay. He's rejoined it, and he gets hooked up with the car that's on the inside. That's going to force him right out to the outside. The 166 machine of Ross Thalen was the car that caught up with that on the outside. Unfortunate break for both of those guys.
Dramas for Lee Partridge as well. You see, he started right up front, dropping big positions right now. He's a really experienced racer, and it's because of that. Tangling wheels so easily done in these cars.
But it's one of the critical things with high car counts. We've already... that's misjudging it by a millimeter. There is absolutely nothing in that. But that's open wheel racing. You've got to protect yourself. You've really got to... The only person that's looking after your best interests in open wheel racing is you. Everyone else, they're not looking out for you. They're looking out for them. And if you're going to protect your car, you've got to position it perfectly. There's no room for mistakes. Oh, my word. I can't take my eyes off the screen, Dave. I've tried to look away 3 times tonight to potentially go and start digging through some numbers and some statistics. Every single time I've done that, accidents have broken out.
This style of racing, no pit stops. It's sprint racing. It's pack racing. You don't need statistics. You hardly even need the live timing gaps. You need your eyes and your heart and they tell you what you need to know about this racing, who looks like they're in a good position in the pack, who looks like they're carrying speed well through the corners, and that's what seems to matter. Here's Phillip moving up yet more positions, plus 18. He sits at the moment just in race 3.
I want to see what our grand total of winning margins for the night is. Remember, it's, ladies and gentlemen, 1/1000th of a second in the first race. Second race, 19 thousandths of a second, so 200ths overall. Are we going to get to 300ths of a second? I don't think we will. I don't think it'll be 300ths of a second.
Got some really wily competitors up front in the shape of Merritt and Cuts at the moment, so those two could make it very, very close. It has all splayed out a little bit because you've got Haaland and McLean for 3rd and 4th there. Alexander Newton sits very, very lonely by Formula V standards in 5th place. And then it's all action once again here. 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, all fanning out across the straight. Phillippe's got himself one more, so he's plus 19 at the moment. In the pack here, he could still grab another and go plus 20.
Another big mover, Liam Caplice, started P40 for this final race of the night, 13th. That's a huge deal. That's a lot of... Still too wide constantly.
And it's going to end in a little bit of heartbreak for Phillip. And who else did he quite get? Merritt, Baker has to go across the grass.
Was it Watts? Might have been Watts. Yeah, it's Watts, was on the outside.
He's up front. The gap between 2nd and 3rd starting to get bridged, so it could be a 4-way fight in not too long. Haaland and McLean combining. Got a couple of juiced cars here.
This is Ray Oliver in the back of this one with, I was going to say it was Dean Hunt, but no, Dean Hunt's unfortunately not having the greatest nights. Dean Hunt's actually a really, really lovely guy, and so is Ray Oliver. I've gotten a lot of opportunities to talk to Ray Oliver over his sim racing career. He's just a genuine, down-to-earth guy. Races hard, races fair, and this is his sort of style of stuff where you've got to use your head. You can't go out hard and fast and just win it on your own. You've really got to think smart about where you're positioning the car, why you're positioning it, and when you put the car there. And the teammate, I believe, is Crysdale. It's Rob Crysdale's right next to him, so those two will work together all night long.
Ooh, almost intertangled wheels there. It happens so commonly. Nearly hurt Trevor Hearn there. He dusts himself off, and he's got a little bit of time left, being this the longer race. Right back into it. Some really quick drivers behind this pack, threatening to catch them though, in the form of Liam Caplice, our biggest mover in race 3, Glenn Riddle and Tony Baker, the teammates of Chuka.
Straight through the middle. That's how you get it done. Remember what we were talking about, swap drafting and double drafting and triple drafting? That's how you get it done. What a send.
4 wide, picked the gap, got a lane, moved up a whole heap of positions. Trevor Hearn goes from, I'm at the back of this pack, to maybe trying to take the lead. He's around the outside of Southern Loop. Really struggled for grip there. The way the camber is, the way that the just tyre rubbish ends up offline.
So the critical thing for this group is if they want to stay ahead of the group behind them, I think it's a little bit too late for that now. They had to try and work together there. 4 wide, whilst it doesn't seem like a smart decision, you actually potentially want to get up to 3 wide and somebody just sort of backs off and lets the drafting go. That's how you pull away from the guys behind. There's too much squabbling going on, so this pack, it's all of a sudden going to double in size.
Yeah, and with as many cars as we've got out on the grid, you know, you'll find someone. You lose a tiny bit of time, someone will catch you. This is up front though in our final race of the evening. Haaland and McLean over 3rd and 4th, and they are not catching 1st and 2nd on this lap. Tripping over themselves just a little bit. Can they find the temporary spirit or alliance to catch 1st and 2nd? It's like a good reality TV game show, isn't it? You need to make an alliance early and then backstab at the end.
That's it. Reality TV played out on the motor racing circuit. I wonder how that'll work out for us all.
Isn't that how Cam Waters' career started?
Well, See, the thing about Cam Waters is that on occasions he goes off and he goes sideways, but that's actually a good racecraft in dirt. So, you know, that's how it works out. Alex Newton, what a lonely night. He's out there. He's doing a great job, but he's on his own. Everyone else is having one of these crazy races. He's going to roll back up in the pits and yawn, stretch a little bit, get out of the car and be like, oh, guys, how was that race? What happened? Nothing for me.
No, it's all happening in front and behind him at the moment. Too wide through an absolutely flat out turn number 1. And then it's about who has the racing line through the southern loop. Again, there's no grip offline. Tony Baker just behind finds out. He's spun, and that's a tough place to rejoin from.
Gone a long way back. Is that Watts again? I think it might be Watts again, unfortunately. Yeah, let's just run off the edge of the road. Have a look at the battling now. Harland and McLean really trying to work together here. Unfortunately, they've actually dropped time. They've actually dropped back. Oh, is that a blown engine or a slide? That was a slide.
A slide, and then he just mashed the brakes, locked up all 4 to be able to catch it, which is really, really quick reaction to that.
So 2 reasons that might have happened. Might have been a checkup that he wasn't necessarily expecting from McLean's just ahead of him for Harland. That does happen from time to time. Guy just misreads the corner. Tyres might be getting a little bit hot, a little bit of wear going down on them. They may not be as compliant as they once were. So obviously changing lines, changing grip levels throughout the session as well as that rubber's been laid down. Whole bunch of things that these drivers are starting to handle a little bit differently.
It is a really hot track too as well. 46 Celsius is going to make things pretty slippy to the end of this longer race. Perfect weather to be out on a yacht. Sick invite. 3 laps to go, and our leaders start that final lap. Oh, he's ready. He's ready for another photo finish. I am. We all are. And it's Merritt and Cuts. It's Mr. Echuca Toyota and Mr. Jaser battling for the win in this one.
I think working together, I still think they're not done working together. I think they're still settling it in down. Probably a really good opportunity.
Well, if they were working together, they could make a Formula Toyota race car.
Dave, it's going to be a great season with jokes like these. You know, I saw a meme earlier today, Dave. And,
I bet you did.
It springs to mind. If you think my jokes are bad, you should see some of my life decisions.
Oh, okay. All right.
Well, I sent that to my wife, Dave.
Yeah, that's a pretty big decision. So, yeah, I can see why that one might not go down quite so well. 3 wide through formerly Honda hairpin. What is it now? Yeah, Miller hairpin. Somehow didn't end in catastrophe for this group. I really, really thought it would. The tighter the corner, I think the harder it is to battle side by side through it without tangling wheels and tripping over each other.
Yeah, and it's quite critical. If you go back, we're not obviously going to get that opportunity to sort of go back and sort of review it when these guys are racing this close. Have a look at Liam Caplis, gets a little bit checked up on the outside. But the way to think about it, it's all racecraft, ladies and gentlemen. If a guy is coming really shallow at a corner, he's going to have to drift wide or really, really slow up. The instant you see him approaching the corner, if he's still a little bit faster than you and you're on the outside, you know he's going to slip wide. Back off on the brakes a little bit, try and let him slot in there. You'll survive, you'll live to fight another day. Look for where all the spaces are. Have a look at where all the lines are. You can't turn the car in with a massive amount of speed. That's what we just talked about with the shallow line. Maybe you brake it really hard, switch back and drive down underneath him. It's all about using your head, using your brain, using those mirrors to understand where the spacing is around that car to get some of these moves done. And then occasionally you get to have this sort of crazy fun down the main straight.
2-minute laps. The leaders have crossed the start-finish line, so we're going to get 2 more after this, but Ray Oliver is having a massive accident. 4 wide into turn 1, did not go. When you look from the helicopter shot, the track actually narrows just a fraction from the pit straight in towards turn number 1, and the driver on the extreme inside just gets run out of room. It only takes 1 car to bang wheels with one other. It creates a bowling ball effect there. And Ray Oliver has been knocked head over tail in that one.
I was going to say, I've heard of the term rolling on the floor, laughing out loud, Dave, but that takes it to another level.
Not good for Ray Oliver at all and his race. It's looking good for Merritt and Cuts because they have continued to pull away from the group behind. Justin McLean's even broken the toe to Mikey Harland, who in turn is 6 seconds up the road from Alexander Newton. So previous races, it hasn't been so, but right now it is a little lonely at the top. It is a Merritt versus Cuts final race. So many positions to be decided in the groups behind. They are going to start the final lap. They're about to start the final lap. There will be about 15 seconds on the clock. And so we start one more. Merritt and Cuts need to start thinking 4.5, 5 kilometers in advance.
Yeah, so this is the thing. So you've now got a 3.9 second gap back to the next car. And have a look at Cuts. He gets it by 0.03 of a second at the start-finish line from that far back. I think Merritt's just let him have it. I think Merritt's gaming him here. I think Merritt's going to follow him the whole way around this lap. Maybe the race win here is decided about not who goes the fastest on the last lap, but who goes the slowest up until the second last corner.
Yeah, with how much time they've got in their back pocket as the leading duo and just the two of them, it is it's a duel, you know. That's what it is. It's about who turns quickest, who fires off first. It is just a very, very simple strategy game. You want to be in second coming out of MG, but both of them know it. So I feel like this could get very game theory on this final lap.
I was about to say, do you feign a hamstring injury? At some point, oh, it's finally kicked off. I was waiting for this in this back here.
Riddle and others off at the hairpin, all spinning out across the paved service road there. Cuts still leads. Will he feign to try to give the lead away? He doesn't look like he's quite taking the racing line initially into Lukey Heights, but Merritt's not buying what's being sold. What can you do as the leading car here to try to hold on to the checkered flag? You've got to have lifted at the apex of MG or something, and Cuts hasn't done it. He's in front, but whichever way Cuts goes, Merritt can go the other and take this lead away. Surely the checkered flag is waiting for them. There's nothing more in this lap. It's just all about the drag race to the line. The cumulative winning margins are going to be tiny. How's the side draft in a V? A long run to the line. Merritt has his nose in front, and there's no time for chasing Cuts to respond. Justin McLean will complete the podium, but that is a last lap masterclass from John Merritt.
Yeah, and remember, ladies and gentlemen, he's finished in the top 5 twice tonight. One win. Oh, look at that margin right there. There's nothing in that one. Here comes the Hornets. It's not over. They're squeezing for space. They both want the draft of the car ahead. Who's going to get ahead? Somebody bumped. There was contact with the wheels. It's still kicking off. This was for your outside of the top 10. This is 12 to 16. 17, 18th will cross the line on their own. 3 wide for 19th to 21st. 4 wide.
Hearn and Crisdale over 6th and 7th. Oh, that's drama across the checkered flag. That had just 6,000th of a second separating them in their battle 6th and 7th. So it is never over till the checkered flag. My goodness.
Yeah, 6,000ths of a second deep in the pack, and it's going to be that way all the way up and down the field. John Merritt, I would say, is probably going to be a round winner. Mikey Harlan picked up a swagger points in race number 1 and race number 3, but he's missing that all-important race number 2 inside the top 10, and that's where John Merritt sort of pipped him at the post. So I'd say it's probably Merritt with the round win. Good luck trying to pick who finishes 3rd, though, because there's such a mixed-up set of results up and down the field.
Yeah, absolutely has been. This is those results from race number 3. John Merritt taking the lead on the pit straight on the final lap to win by 600ths of a second. Justin McLean, Mikey Harland, Alex Newton a little lonely behind them before the next pack kicked on through fractions of a second. Trevor Hearn to Robert Crisdale. Liam Caplice, a huge mover in that race number 3, but never quite showed his pace in race 1 or 2. So he'll be looking to come good later on. And then you've got Glenn Riddle and Ben Brea as our top 10. Cameron Edwards, Josh Munro, Mike Pepper, True Beecham, Lee Partridge, Tony Power, Etten Philippi, Corey Horter, Sean McKenzie, and Reece Gardner. Now top 20.
My word, what a night. What a night worth of racing. And it just shows you that Phillip Island creates some of the most insane, unreal racing when you can go 5 wide down the front stretch. Can you tell me, Dave, the last time you ever saw cars going 5 wide down the front stretch at Phillip Island? I certainly can't.
No, I'm scratching all 5 of my brain cells, and I'm not finding a time that happened in a racing situation, or not, at least not off just a race start with someone stalled or something. So yeah, it was amazing racing, and it was really challenging, I think, for the drivers, because it is tough to race wheel to wheel like that. It's tough to race wheel to wheel like that on the sim as well, and you got to put a lot of trust in everyone around you. And so the fact that it came off cleanly as many times as it did, the fact that it ever came off cleanly, probably a minor miracle. And you did see a lot of respect from all of the drivers. They wanted to keep it clean. They weren't throwing ridiculously speculative moves. Occasionally in racing, wheels tangle, mistakes happen, and we did see that happen commonly. But it never seemed like it was from a lack of talent or respect. It was sort of a racing is racing kind of deal. And that fills me with a lot of hope and a lot of excitement for the remaining rounds of this championship as well. Scott, we've got a couple of our drivers standing by that we can have a chat with as well. And I think it's only fair we go straight to our race 3 winner and also our pole sitter, John Merritt. Congratulations. I think you're never going to have a perfect round in these cars or in a field like this, but you really capitalized.
No, it was good, thanks, David. Yeah, the pole was good, incredibly tight. So good grid size. So hopefully that continues through the series. And yeah, had a little bit of bad luck in that reverse grid race, I think. So I ended up off the track, but managed to come through in the final or third heat. So.
It's kind of pack racing, and when you're in the group up front, when do you start counting backwards the laps on your fingers? Because I think you really played that well on the final lap of the final race.
Probably 3 to go. That was a consideration. I'm sure it was for Jason too, but it's sort of a little bit like those starts where on the velodromes where people are boxing. I think we had enough of a break, sort of we worked together to crack the field, and then it was down to 2 of us. So you never wanted to be first leading into that last corner. I tried that in race 1. It didn't work out too well.
I know you love your racing. You love your time on iRacing. How does this compare? Because it has looked from the outside just really, really close, just pure racing.
Yeah, can't wait to see the stream, to be honest. So the grid size was fantastic. I mean, there's varying levels probably of those that have been on the service for longer, etc. But that top 20 cars must have been, and the battles through the field must have been epic for you guys commentating, for sure.
Yeah, well, we can catch our breath now that all 3 races have been run, I think. John, congratulations to you. You sort of the driver now that everyone's going to be comparing themselves against, with that pole time, with that race win, and with the championship lead, which is way too early to count with these cars, with the tracks that we're going to and the style of racing. But who would you like to thank?
I better shout out to the Pulse Tuning crew and Echuca Toyota, the sponsors, and obviously Cam for putting the series together, and the organisers, SimSpeed for the broadcast. So look forward to a great season ahead.
Awesome. We look forward to seeing you put on a show like that again.
I appreciate it. Thanks, David.
There we go. Championship leader, qualifying champion, and race 3 winner, John Merritt. Scott, we've got a couple others standing by, so it's only fair to pick their brains. Mikey Harland, I reckon, is someone who will be good to speak to. He was 1,000th of a second short of taking a race win, and did bag a lot of points cumulatively across the races as well. and it just killed me.
Speaking of Mikey Harland, he's in the middle of having a chat to everyone that was down actually in the interview box that was just sort of standing around waiting for us to interview. Mikey, of course, a little bit off guard there, mate.
Hey, buddy.
It was interesting up and down the field. I think the term that describes it best is actually something Dave actually just said to John Merritt. It's pure racing, Formula V. You got to be brave. You got to know exactly the limits of your car, and you can't afford to bang wheels with people.
Yeah, 100%, man. Hey, look, before we get into all of that, I was just saying to the boys, I reckon we need to change the grid up time to 1.5 minutes, because I had to do that last race with my cock out, and I was extremely worried that the camera would fucking show. Sorry, I was swearing. I've had a coffee. But yeah, man, that was awesome, dude. You really got to race like how I'm sitting right now. You know, it's really cool, and I got real G'd up when I saw that John was in the list, because he's so awesome to race against. So yeah, we had some bust ups, but we did it with a smile on our face, so it was awesome fun, man.
I think the critical thing for me is that it was about keeping the car clean just about all night long. Everyone will look back at round number 1 and go, yeah, there's probably a moment where I could have been half a foot to the left, half a foot to the right. But at round 1, when you're in these sorts of cars with 3-4 wide sort of moments, it's about learning the limits. Did you push those limits far enough tonight? Did you make a mistake? Did you learn where the barriers are that you can't cross?
Made heaps of mistakes, man. I ain't very good. The only thing that sort of helps me is I do a lot of V races with my friends overseas, so we always battle with a bit of net code. So it's actually really refreshing to race with a little bit more, less padding around the vehicle. So try to give everybody a little bit of space. Obviously things happen, but you're racing. You don't want to give an inch. You got to give them the full 4.
And finally, is there a particular car that maybe you enjoyed following? They gave the best draft. Who gave the best draft? Who was the pusher? Who could you rely on the most out there tonight?
It was cool to see all the Pulse Chuka guys out there all working together. Actually, a little bit of a cool alliance with Partridge in one of the races sort of helped me get back into the battle. Obviously, Gianni is close mate of mine, and always try look out for him on track, because he's everybody knows to get on the G train if you want to get a cheeky P2. So yeah, look, everybody's, just figuring them out, getting to know them. A lot of people I don't know here. A lot of people I recognise from the real motorsport scene, which is really, really cool to see such a blend of sim races and real world races all coming together. So yeah, look, man, I expected bigger bust ups, and that was genuinely impressive. Race 1 was incredible. That finish, I'm looking at the photo finish now across the line. How cool is that? Like, that's classic V racing right there.
1,000th of a second, my friend. Is that the closest you've ever lost to someone by?
Yeah, it's the closest I've ever come to winning.
Mate, congratulations. Your opportunity to thank all your sponsors, brother.
Yeah, I'd like to thank me. I'm awesome. I wouldn't be here without me. Yeah, obviously everything that I throw on the car to make myself look like I'm important and cool. So just chill out systems and mode push. Yeah, they're just the things I do for funsies. Gianni Lutsu, I love that guy. Mr. 10K. How cool is he? I love that man. Lutsu Driver Performance does driver training if anyone wants to do that. And hey, thank you guys for a cool stream. I can't wait to watch that back later. I'm gonna curl up with a candlelight and watch it. So yeah.
Mate, there's a ton of jokes, there's a ton of animation going on, and the big tip, don't tell anyone else this. Let David Haynes sit in your car. It'll guarantee you a race win.
David Hay, all right, I'll slip him a misty digit and see if he can help me out. Sorry for all the F-bombs, and big shout out to the guys running this. It's that was a lot of fun.
Thanks, Mikey. You sound like you had a great night, mate, and I think that's more important than a result any day of the week.
Yeah, I'm sweating, man. I shouldn't have shut the door, man. It's actually the first time I've been sweating in here. And I forgot to put my gloves on. Legitimately had to run from the toilet and sit down. So yeah, we got the belt off and everything. So I'll leave you on that one. Peace in your crease. Have a good one.
Thanks, Mikey. Mate, he was having a bang up time. That's. Did you see the grin from ear to ear? That's racing. That's racing right there.
Yeah, I mean, no tire conservation, no fuel strategy. It's about who you're shoulder to shoulder with. It's about how you commit to those corners, and I feel like that is pure racing. People who know me will know how much I love endurance racing and strategy and all that stuff, but it is so good to have a bunch of talented drivers go wheel to wheel like that in this style of racing. It's awesome. And one of those drivers who went wheel to wheel for a win and came up 63 thousandths of a second short Jason Cutts, you were up there all night long.
Yeah, it was good fun. It's just a shame I made a goose of myself in the second race there.
I think everyone has one moment they wish they could rewrite out of tonight, because it is so challenging to race these things wheel to wheel like this, and especially on the sim. How do you compare iRacing to real world V racing? Because both of them are super exciting from where I'm sitting.
You know what? They're very similar. I just said this to Cam offline. The main difference is in the sim, everyone has exactly the same horsepower, so it just makes it so much more challenging.
Makes it so much more interesting from where we sit as well, though. You did well in that final race, the race 3, and it was just you and the John Merritt show at the end there. How creative were you thinking of getting to try to be in the right place at the right time for that slipstream?
Yeah, you do have to think about it, although most of the race, I think both of us were just trying to gap the next pack once we'd sort of broken that toe. So really, you're just driving around trying to maintain that gap until the white flag, and then, it's on the last lap without trying to take each other out.
Well, I've been taking a look at the points standings. We've got a lot of racing and some very interesting tracks still to come, but your combined results sit you third, so I'm sure that's good news.
Quite surprising, to be fair. I'm not the best sim racer, so I'm pretty happy with that. And fact is, I've never actually driven Phillip Island in real life. This is the only time I have, so I'm pretty stoked with tonight.
Well, that's awesome to hear. You're right into it, and I'm sure you've got plenty of time to practice the tracks that are coming up, if that's what you desire as well. Congratulations to you, putting on an awesome show with everyone else tonight. Anyone that you've got to thank, well, we've got your ear on the broadcast.
I want to thank Cam and the guys that organise the series, to be honest. It's cool to have something like this, outside of the normal racing season. And also all the guys there that I was racing with, it was, they did everything they could to be fair and give racing room, etc. So, yeah, good night.
Awesome. Well, congrats to you again on your results, and thank you so much for stepping in here to have a chat with us.
No worries, thank you.
There we go, Scott. Our top 3 in the championship after a spellbinding round 1. I don't think when we go to Winton in 2 weeks' time, that excitement is going to be at all dampened.
Yeah, and the thing that a lot of people at home have got to remember is, we just saw this really, really interesting wide track pack racing format. Winton's a completely different style of racetrack. It's all about car balance. It's all about car rotation. It's all about maintaining the momentum and positioning the car to rotate it perfectly. There's going to be guys that send it through the middle of the track at Winton. And if you thought the racing tonight was interesting, Winton will be, but in a completely and utterly different manner. It will be strategery, but it'll be racecraft strategery, not the kind with the pit stop. It's about preventing those at Winton. Oh my god, Dave, I had a blast. Could you the amount of jokes I was able to pull out of the hat tonight that I've been sitting on for so long?
Well, you've got 2 weeks to write new material, because we are going to be bringing you round 2 of the Formula Vee Australia E-Series from Winton Motor Raceway here on SimSpeed TV, Wednesday the 14th of December. I've spoken to a lot of drivers who are looking forward to it. You've heard from us, we're looking forward to it. So make sure you stay in touch with Formula Vee Australia. Thank you to partners CXC Racing, Lux Performance, Giant Mandara, V Race Experience, Lightech, and Southern Cross Esports putting it all together, because they have found magic. They've found gold with this one. We can't wait to see how it progresses. Subscribe to us here on SimSpeed, because we look forward to bringing you more Formula V insanity in 2 weeks' time. Been David Haynes, Scott Rankin with me, Jay Kennedy with the great cameras, the great replays, and thanks to all of our drivers for the great racing. We'll see you in 2 weeks at Winton.
fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction, he's got rid of the outside of both of them! Maloney!
Oh, he's taken Anderson. Anderson's up to
Oh my god! Big crash! Oh my goodness, half the field's gonna get rolled!
Second very close. These guys I want to make their way through the field very quickly. Oh, here we go. Oh no! That's massive! This is it! This is over! I can't believe this! Oh my god!
God, what?